Hello, guys and gals, and this is part 17 of our reading of of the Harvard Classics. I got a little bit ahead of myself there. The Golden Sayings, the Harvard Classics are, they consist of the Apology, Phaedo, and Credo of Plato, translated by Benjamin Jowett, the Golden Sayings of Epictetus, which we are reading currently, translated by Hastings Crosley, and the Meditations of Marcus Aurelius, which we will be reading in the future, translated by George Long, edited by Charles W. Elliott, LLD, with introduction and notes. And we are going to go over the copyright information, which is basically very brief. Copyright 1980, 1937 and 1907 by Grolier Enterprises Corporation, and it's manufactured in the United States. Now, in the last one, I'm going to just have to go back and read that last saying just because I thought it was so brilliant. So we're going to do that. And we were to number 65, and I've just got to read 65 again because it was so good. It's one I'm going to have to definitely remember. When a youth was giving himself airs in the theater and saying, "I am wise, for I have conversed with many wise men," Epictetus replied, "I too have conversed with many rich men, yet I am not rich." It's brilliant. I love that. Anyways, so now we are to number 66. We see that a carpenter becomes a carpenter by learning certain things, that a pilot by learning certain things becomes a pilot. Possibly also in the present case, the mere desire to be wise and good is not enough. It is necessary to learn certain things. This is then the object of our search. The philosopher would have us first learn that there is a God, and that his providence directs the universe. Further, that to hide from him not only one's acts, but even one's thoughts and intentions is impossible. Secondly, what is the nature of God? Secondly, what the nature of God is. Whatever the nature, whatever that nature is discovered to be, the man who would please and obey him must strive with all his might to be made like unto him. If the divine is faithful, he also must be faithful. If the divine is faithful, he must also be faithful. If free, he must also be free. If beneficent, he must also be beneficent. If magnanimous, he must also be magnanimous. Thus, as an imitator of God, must he follow him in every deed and word. Okay, now we are to 67. If I show you that you lack just what is most important and necessary to be happy, that hitherto your attention has been bestowed on everything rather than that which claims it most, and to crown all, that you know neither what God nor man is, neither what good nor evil is, why, that you are ignorant of everything else, perhaps you may bear to be told, but to hear. I've lost my place here. This book is kind of going all over the place here. Let's see. Yeah, you may bear to be told, but to hear that you know nothing of yourself. How could you submit to that? How could you stand your ground and suffer that to be proved? Clearly, not at all. You instantly turn away in wrath. Yet, what harm have I done you, unless indeed the mirror harms the ill-favored man by showing him to himself just as he is, unless the physician can be thought to insult his patient when he tells him, "Friend, do you suppose there is nothing wrong with you? Why do you have a fever? Eat nothing today and drink only water." Yet no one says, what an insufferable insult. Whereas if you say to a man, your desires are inflamed, your instincts of rejection are weak and low, your aims are inconsistent, your impulses are not in harmony with nature, your opinions are rash and false, he forthwith goes away and complains that you have insulted him. Okay, we are to 68 now, I believe. Our way of life resembles a fair. The flocks and herds are passing along to be sold, and the greater part of the crowd and the greater part of the crowd to buy and sell. But there are some few who come only to look at the fair, to inquire how and why it is being held, upon what authority, and and with what object. Oh, and with what object. So too, in this great fair of life, some, like the cattle, trouble themselves about nothing but the fodder. Know all of you who are busied about the land, slaves, and public posts, that these are nothing but fodder. Some few will be attending the fair who love to contemplate what the world is, what he then that administers it. Wait, what the world is, what he that administers it. Can there be no administrator? Is it possible that while neither city nor household could endure even for a moment without one to administer and see to its welfare, this fabric so fair, so vast, should be administered in order so harmonious, without a purpose, and by blind chance? There is therefore an administrator. What is his nature, and how does he administer? And who are we that are his children, and what work were we born to perform? Have we any close connections or relation with him or not? Such are the impressions of the few whom I speak. And further, they apply themselves solely to considering and examining the great assembly before they depart. Well, they are debrided by the multitude, so as the onlookers by the traders' eye, and if the beasts have any sense, they would deride those who thought much of anything but fodder. Number 69. Nice. I think I know now what I never knew before. The meaning of the common saying, a fool you can neither bend nor break. Pray heaven I may never have a wise fool for a friend. There is nothing more intractable. My resolve is fixed. Why so madmen say too. But the more firmly they believe in their delusions, the more they stand in need of treatment. Number 70. Oh, when shall I see Athens and its Acropolis again? Miserable man, art thou not contented with the daily sights that meet thine eyes? Canst thou behold aught greater or nobler than the sun, moon, and stars, than the outspread earth and sea? If indeed thou apprehendest him who administers the universe, if thou bearest him about within thee, canst thou still hanker for mere fragments of stone and a fine rock? What thou art about to bid farewell to the sun and moon itself? Wilt thou sit down and cry like a child? Why, what didst thou hear? What didst thou learn? Why didst thou write thyself down a philosopher, when thou mightst have written that was the fact, namely, I have made one or two compendiums. I have read some works of Chrysippus, and I have not even touched the hem of philosophy's robe. Number 71. Friend, lay hold with a desperate grasp, ere it is too late, on freedom, on tranquility, on greatness of soul. Lift up thy head as one escapes from slavery. Dare to look up to God and say, deal with me henceforth as thou wilt. Thou and I are of one mind. I am thine. I refuse nothing that seemeth good to thee. Lead on whither thou wilt. Clothe me in what garb thou pleasest. Wilt thou have me a ruler or a subject, at home or in exile, poor or rich? All these things will I justify unto men for thee. I will show the true nature of each. Who would Hercules have been had he loitered at home? No Hercules, but Eurystheus. And in his wanderings through the world, how many friends and comrades did he find? But nothing dearest to him than God. Wherefore he was believed to be God's son, as indeed he was. So then, in obedience to him, he went about delivering the earth from injustice and lawlessness. But thou art not Hercules. Thou sayest and cannot deliver others from their iniquity. Not even Theseus to deliver the soil of Attica from its monsters. Purge away thine own, cast forth thence from thine own mind not robbers and monsters, but fear, desire, envy, malignity, avarice, effeminacy, intemperance, and these may not be cast out except by looking to God alone, by fixing thy affections on him only, and by consecrating thyself to him, to his commands. If thou choosest aught else with sighs and groans, thou wilt be forced to follow a might greater than thine own, ever seeking tranquillity without, and never able to attain unto her. For thou seekest her where she is not to be found, and where she is, there thou seekest her not. Number 72. If a man would pursue philosophy, his first task is to throw away conceit, for it is impossible for a man to begin to learn what he has a conceit that he already knows. Good point. 73. Give me but one young man that has come to the school with this intention, who stands forth a champion of this cause and says, all else I renounce, content if I am but able to pass my life free from hindrance and trouble, to raise my head aloft and face all things as a free man, to look up to heaven as a friend of God, fearing nothing that may come to pass. Point out such as one to me, that I may say, enter, young man, into possession of that which is thine own. For thy lot is to adorn philosophy. Thine are the possessions, thine these books, these discourses. And when our champion has duly exercised himself in this part of the subject, I hope he will come back to me and say, what I desire is to be free from passion and from perturbation, as one who grudges no pain in the pursuit of piety and philosophy. And what I desire is to know my duty to the gods, my duty to my parents, to my brothers, my country, to strangers. Enter then on to the second part of the subject. It is thine also, but I have already mastered the second part. Only I wished to stand firm and unshaken, as firm when asleep as when awake, as firm when elated with wine as in despondency and dejection. Friend, you are verily a god. You cherish great designs. Number 74. The question at stake, said Epictetus, is no common one. It is this: are we in our senses, or are we not? Number 75. If you have given way to anger, be sure that over and above the evil involved therein, and you strengthen the habit and added fuel to the fire. If overcome by the temptation of the flesh, do not reckon it a single defeat, but that you have also strengthened your dissolute habits. Habits and faculties are necessarily affected by the corresponding acts. Those that were not there before spring up. The rest gain in strength and extent. This is the account which philosophers have given of the origin of diseases of the mind. Suppose you had once lusted after money, if reason sufficient to produce a sense of the evil be applied, then the lust is checked, and the mind at once regains its original authority. Whereas if you have recourse to no remedy, you can no longer look for this return. On the contrary, the next time it is excited by the corresponding subject, the flame of desire leaps up more quickly than before. By frequent repetition, the mind in the long run becomes callous, and thus this mental disease produces confirmed avarice. One who has had fever, even when it has left him, is not in the same condition of health as before, unless indeed his cure is complete. Something of the same sort is true also of diseases of the mind. Behind behind there remains a legacy or traces and of blisters, and unless these are effectually erased, subsequent blows on the same spot will produce no longer mere blisters, but sores. If you do not wish to be prone to anger, do not feed the habit. Give it nothing which may tend to its increase. At first, keep quiet and count the days when you were not angry. I used to be angry every day, and every other day, next every 2, next every 3 days, and if you succeed in passing 30 days, sacrifice to the gods in thanksgiving. This is fascinating. I'm sorry, I know I'm supposed to be reading the book, but this has given me lots of insight. This is also true. They're talking about calluses of the mind, basically doing repetitive things. The same thing is true, and that is basically the root of addiction. Basically, it takes more and more of something because the callus. A callus is, look it up. It's basically like if you do a lot of manual labor, then you'll get calluses on your hands, and you won't be able to feel quite as well, and it'll take more and more force to basically break through those calluses. This is the same thing with addiction. Basically, if you're addicted to something and you take it, it starts out by just needing a little bit to get that high, and then as the calluses and as the endurance and the resilience towards that builds up, it takes more and more. So this is basically, even though this was centuries before medicine, so to say, this is really an adequate way of describing addiction. Sorry about that. 74. No, 70. Would that be 70? No, that would be 70. 76. Sorry, 76. These Roman numerals are kicking my butt. Okay. How then may this be attained? Resolve now, if never before, to approve thyself to thyself. Resolve to show thyself fair in God's sight. Long to be pure and thine own pure self and God. This is number 77. This is the true athlete that attains himself to resist such outward impressions as these. Stay, wretched man, suffer not thyself to be carried away. Great is the combat, divine the task. You are fighting for kingship, for liberty, for happiness, for tranquility. Remember God, call upon him to aid thee like a comrade that stands beside thee in the fight. This is number 78. Who then is a Stoic, in the sense that they call that a statue of Phidias, which is modeled after that master's art? Show me a man in this sense modeled after the doctrine that are ever upon their lips. Show me a man that is sick and happy, in danger and happy, on his deathbed and happy, in exile and happy, in evil report and happy. Show me him. I ask again. So help me heaven. I long to see one Stoic. Nay, if you cannot show me one fully modeled, let me at least see one to whom the process is at work. One whose bent is in that direction. Do me that favor. Grudge it not to an old man to behold a sight that he has never yet beheld. Think you, I wish to see the Zeus or Athena of Phidias, bedecked with gold and ivory. Nay, show me one of you, a human soul, desiring to be of one mind with God, no more to lay blame on God or man, to suffer nothing, to disappoint nothing, to cross him, to yield neither to anger, envy, nor jealousy. In a word, why disguise the matter? One one that from a man would fain become a god, one that while still imprisoned in this dead body makes fellowship with God his aim. Show me him. Ah, you cannot. Then why mock yourselves and delude others? Why stalk about tricked out in other men's attire, thieves and robbers that you are, of names and things of which you can show no title? This is 79, I believe. Yeah, this has to be 79. If you had assumed a character beyond your strength and have both played a poor figure in that and neglected one that is within your powers. Number 80. Fellow, you have come to blows at home with a slave, and have turned the household upside down and thrown the neighborhood into confusion. And do you come to me then with airs of assumed modesty? Do you sit down like a sage and criticize my explanation of the readings and whatever idle babble you say has come into my head? Have you come full of envy and dejected because nothing is sent you from home, and while the discussion is going on, do you sit brooding on nothing but how your father or your brother are disposed towards you? What are you saying about me there? At this moment, they imagine I am making progress and saying, he will return perfectly omniscient. I wish I could become omniscient before I return, but that would be very troublesome. No one sends me anything. The baths at Nicopolis are dirty. Things are wretched at home and wretched here. And then they say nobody in any is any better for the school. Who comes to the school with a sincere wish to learn, to submit his principles to correction, and himself to quote unquote treatment? Excuse me. Who to gain a sense of his wants? Why then be surprised if you carry home from the school exactly what you bring into it? That's true also. This is 81. Epictetus, I have often come desiring to hear you speak, and you have never given me any answer. Now, if possible, I entreat you to say something to me. Oh boy, this one is super long. I might have to, holy crap, it's over a page. Is there, do you think, replied Epictetus, an art of speaking as of other things, if it is to be done skillfully and with profit to the hearer? Yes. And are all profited by what they hear, or only some among them? So that it seems there's an art of hearing as well as of speaking. To make a statue needs skill. To view a statue aright to view a statue aright needs skill also. Admitted. And I think all will allow that one who proposes to hear philosophers speak needs a considerable training in hearing. It is not so. Then tell me on what subject you are able to hear me. Why, on good and evil. The good and the evil of what? A horse, an ox? No, of a man. Do you know then what man is? What his nature is? What is the idea we have of him? And are our ears practiced in any degree on the subject? Nay. Do you understand what nature is? Can you follow me in any degree when I say that I shall have to use demonstration? Do you understand what demonstration is? What true or false is? Must I drive you to philosophy? Show me what good I am to do by discoursing with you. Rouse my desire to do so. The sight of the pasture it loves stirs in a sheep the desire to feed. Show it a stone or a bit of bread, and it remains unmoved. Thus we also have certain natural desires, and one that moves us to speak. When we find a listener that is worth his salt, one that himself stirs the spirit. But if he stirs but like a stone or a tuft of grass, how can he rouse a man's desire? I do want to say that if you showed a sheep a stone or a piece of bread, it would probably run away. Sheep are very frightful creatures. I mean, fearful. They run away from everything. They're even afraid to drink from running water. Anyways, then you will say nothing to me. I can only tell you this, that one who knows not who he is, and to what end he was born, what kind of world this is, and with whom he is associated therein, one who cannot distinguish good and evil, beauty and foulness, truth and falsehood, will never follow reason in shaping his desires and impulses and repulsions, nor yet in assent, denial, or suspension of judgment, but will, in one word, go about deaf and blind, thinking himself to be somewhat, when he is in truth of no account. Is there anything new in all of this? Is not the ignorance the cause of all the mistakes and mischances of men since the human race began? This is all I have to say to you, and even this against the grain. Why? Because you have not stirred my spirit. For what can I see in you to stir me? I am a spirited horse. Stir me as a spirited horse will stir a judge of horses. Your body, that you maltreat, your dress, that is luxurious, your behavior, your look, nothing whatsoever. When you want to hear a philosopher, do not say, you say nothing to me, only show yourself worthy or fit to hear, and then you will see how you will move the speaker. On that note, we're going to have to stop at, 82, I think. I think that's 82. LXXXII, so I think that's 82. Well, we'll call it 82. I believe that's where we're going to have to stop it. We have run out of time. We made it to number 82, which is really, really good. Anyways, I'm sorry I had to go into that discourse earlier, because that really stirred my thoughts. And that's probably what these are supposed to do. But we've been reading from the Harvard Classics, and specifically the Golden Sayings of Epictetus. We went from 66 to 82, I believe it was. I'll have to double check, but I'm pretty sure that was 82. So we got through quite a few of them, and these are going pretty quick. We still have at least half the book to go, so there are a lot of sayings here. I'm not even sure where there are lots of sayings of Marcus Aurelius. Wow, that's going to take a long time. But there's fragments, and then this goes up to CLXXXXIX. So I have no idea what that is. Probably, I don't know. Anyways, if you like this content, make sure you like and subscribe, ring the bell so you know when I upload. Also, if you support me in any way, if you want to join the Discord server, all that information will be in the description below. And as always, thanks for watching, everyone, and have a great day.